Good morning, good afternoon, dear viewers, friends, and colleagues. Welcome to Innovative Sustainability channel. I hope you enjoyed the videos so far. We were covering spectrum of healthcare, manufacturing in pharmaceuticals predominantly, but I also started to cover food manufacturing and looking for creative, innovative, alternative pathways. So our speaker today is Greg Potter, and he's CEO of the Profillet, which is the alternative seafood company developing the next generation of whitefish equivalents. He has expertise in diverse areas, including native proteins, cell-based meat, fermentation, also beverage and microbial analysis, lipid analysis, supported alternative seafood projects in the past. Greg has contributed successfully to the funding of the applications for alternative proteins and cellular culture research in Canada, receiving grants from Wood Food Institute, NRC IRAP, MyTax. I can relate. MyTax was one of my favorite foundations, Protein Industries of Canada, and Canada's Ocean Supercluster, and also numerous other agencies. Greg received his PhD in food science and technology from the Dalhousie University, where he was focusing on development of analytical methods for 3OH oxalipids analysis in beverage and fermentation yeast. Prior to that, he was also working in beverage fermentation, and previously he received bachelor in science, in specializing in microbiology and immunology, also from Dalhousie University. Greg, it's a pleasure to see you here. Welcome to the channel, and the floor is yours. Looking forward for your presentation.
Thank you so much, Marina, for having me here today. It's an honor to be here to discuss with you a little bit about our company called Profillet. So if you just give me a moment here, I'm going to queue up our presentation.
Something coming out over there? Yeah.
And
Yes.
you see it now? You see my presentation?
Yes, very good.
Okay, perfect. So with that, I would like to again say thank you for having me here today. And I'm here today to talk about Profillet. And as you mentioned, your channel, in addition to being, focused on pharmaceuticals, is also looking at more sustainable ways to produce food. And so we, as Profillet, we are an alternative seafood company developing what we say is the next wave of whitefish technology. Thank you. Go on to
Yes,
the
to the
next.
viewers, so you can see here Greg's contact email in case you need a follow-up information, but also if you're looking for collaboration. So here is Dr. Greg's info. Okay.
Okay, thank you so much. Yeah, I'm just trying to scroll ahead to the next slide. Whoops, sorry about that. Okay, so here we are. Sorry about that. There was a slight issue with the slides. But now to sort of set the stage, I want to start off by telling you a little bit about the origin story of our company. So the origin story of our company is somewhat unique in that we got our start as a project team entered in this global competition, which was called X Prize Feed the Next Billion. So this competition really set out to address a fundamental issue associated with animal protein production, and that is primarily that it's believed to be unsustainable. And so the competition, which spanned over 4 years, challenged teams to reinvent meat and seafood with no animal-derived ingredients. And broadly, the competition was focused on creating meat and seafood alternatives that were better nutritionally, that were cheaper than, excuse me, conventional meat and fish, and that were more sustainable, as well as products that had at least equivalent taste or texture to conventional animal protein forms. And so the XPRIZE competition, as I mentioned, spanned over 4 years, and it had several distinct stages. So there was an initial application period in 2020. In 2021, the large initial application pool was whittled down to a semifinalist group, which was about 32 teams, if I remember correctly. And as you could well imagine, there was considerable, excitement amongst all the teams that who applied, who were, selected for that smaller semifinalist pool. And then after a period of more solution development in May 2023, the competition announced the finalist group, which was 6 teams, which had been chosen for the finalist round of the competition. And so we as Profillet, as our team of individuals and companies, we were ecstatic to be in that finalist pool, and we got together again just before May 2023 to start figuring out how we were going to tackle the finalist round of the competition. And then the competition itself concluded in July of 2024. And so, that was a pretty intense period between May 2023 and July 2024. But what I want to show here on this slide is that, our product really evolved with the passing of the competition. So in the early part of the competition, we were, just figuring out how to put together a basic formulation. And as you can see, some of those early attempts, did not actually resemble fish too much. We were trialing different ingredients, different combination approaches, sous viding samples versus not. And as you can see, the initial formulations, as is shown in the picture here on the upper left, did not resemble fish too much. But over time, as we figured out how to better formulate our product, it started to lighten in color. It started to become more flaky looking and look a lot more like fish. And so in mid 2023, in particular, we became, pretty focused in the finals round of the competition on improving the nutritional aspects of our product, as well as some of its sensory characteristics. And then in early 2024, we really focused a lot on improving the texture of our product, trying to create that flaky aspect that's found in conventional fish. And by the end of the competition, what had emerged for us actually is that we had kind of developed a second product form, which we came to call our Generation 2 fillet. An example of that is also shown here on this slide, where we took that Generation 2 product, we breaded it, and we actually served it at a conference in San Francisco in March and April of 2024. And so that Gen 2 product was actually quite well received by the people who were in attendance at the competition. But really, it's important to sort of focus or convey to you that the XPRIZE competition was very demanding technically. So our product, particularly in the finals round of the competition, was put to test by a whole host of different analyses and assessments. So one of which was the size, structure, and physical characteristics aspect of the testing, where our product was compared to the animal origin sample, so a conventional fish form in our case. We also had to subject the product to nutritional profiling, where we were challenged to create nutritional equivalents to conventional fish in our case, within 90 to 110% range. Sorry about that. We also were challenged to really enhance our environmental footprint analysis, which we had sort of conducted previously, where we had to create a screening life cycle analysis to look at the environmental impact of producing our fish. We also had to extend a previous economic evaluation that we had worked on in the semifinalist round to produce a full-scale techno-economic analysis. Our product was also subjected to food safety testing, where we had to create a food safety declaration and develop and subject our products for analysis by a third party. Also, we had our product was assessed for its preparation and cookability from a contracted team of culinary professionals who incorporated it into 3 regional dishes. And then finally, our product also was, of course, put to the test with a sensory analysis panel. And these were individuals from the public in the region where the finals round of the competition was hosted, which was actually in the United Arab Emirates in Abu Dhabi. So the key takeaway here is the X Prize competition and everything that it challenged us to do was very robust and technically demanding, and it really challenged us to deliver, the a full screening for a novel and emerging protein form. But this show, of course, is about sustainability. It's right. It's baked into the title of your show, and so wanted to convey to you and to your viewers that sustainability is really at the foundation of who we are as Profillet. And so, in the beginning of our sort of X Prize competition period, in the creation of our company, we took a data-driven approach to look at sustainability metrics to guide us in terms of how we were going to develop our products and how we were going to sort of maximize our environmental impact potential. And so here is a snapshot of some of these initial sort of sustainability reports that we use to guide us in the future. And so one of which mentions that the farming of fish is actually less resource efficient than farming poultry. And so, many proponents of aquaculture would tell you that it's a very efficient means of producing animal protein. But some key, research studies in academia have demonstrated that actually farming fish is less resource efficient than farming poultry. So that's something that has sort of grounded us and guided us in terms of sustainability as we move forward. Another interesting sort of factoid is around this idea of protein conversion ratio for aquaculture. So this shows that this idea of converting your protein inputs to the protein in the sort of final form, which we would consume, is not actually all that efficient. In fact, the protein conversion ratio for aquaculture on a weighted average basis is just 20%. So this is equivalent to discarding 80% of feed protein inputs during production. Also, another what I found to be somewhat startling, bit of information is that in this data analysis study across all different types of animal protein forms, farmed catfish was actually found to have a higher CO2 footprint than beef production. Now, beef production is regularly invoked as the most deleterious means of producing animal protein. So when we saw this as a team, we thought that clearly the farming of catfish has issues. So with all these bits of information in mind around sustainability, when we set out to create a plant-based seafood product, we chose to target catfish to try and maximize our CO2 offset potential, as the production of conventional catfish has a high CO2 emissions associated with it. And indeed, when we did a full-scale life cycle analysis for our product, we came to find out that Profillet's whitefish equivalent produces 60% less CO2 emissions, uses 75% less land, and 90% less water than farmed catfish. So our product is quite a bit more sustainable.
Yeah, I just want to maybe highlight for the viewers on your previous slide when you're talking about the metrics that actual aquaculture is ending up discarding 80% of feed protein. This is amazing. It's not very obvious. People invest a lot in aquaculture these days in many countries, including UAE. So, to have this for comparison, that's I think that thought-provoking, important to know. Sorry for interruption. Please continue.
Yeah, no, of course. I totally agree. It was sort of very eye-opening to learn about some of these
Mhm.
aspects and to realize that like, okay, wait, like, the system to some degree, with aquaculture is just losing so much input in the process. And it's not very efficient and it's not a necessarily efficient way of feeding lots of people for sure. So
True, true.
I totally and wholly agree. And so today, as a operating startup, sustainability means two things to us. Sustainability, of course, in the matter I spoke about, and the way I spoke about it previously, around ensuring that we have a positive environmental impact, and we produce products that offset any sort of further environmental degradation. But also, as a startup, um, sustainability is really focused is a focus of ours in terms of also maintaining our cash flow, extending our runway, and preserving our operations. And so in terms of how we embrace sustainability today and how we look at it, so we got our start actually as a remote distributed team. We continue to operate digitally today with physical partner sites in the United States and in Canada. And this mode of operation really helps to reduce our, excuse me, our environmental impact and controls cost. It's also important to us today to, focus on sustainability in terms of our operations, in that scaling alternative proteins to their full environmental impact is pretty expensive. It's capitally intensive. The development cycles are long and drawn out, and it takes a long time and costs a lot of money. And so, in order to sort of offset all the costs that we're incurring as we develop our product and as we scale up its manufacturer, we've really had to look at granting programs to extend our runway and ensure financial sustainability. And a lot of this comes in part from the sort of change in the investment landscape in our industry, as is shown on the right in this slide. 4 or 5 years ago, there was a lot of hype around alternative proteins. Investors were flocking into the space, and they thought that they were going to have, some pretty quick turnaround times and generate a lot of ROIs on their investment. What they sort of came to find out is that it takes more time than a lot of them thought to develop and scale alternative proteins. And so today, there's less hype around our industry, and investors are flocking to the space less than they were before. So all that is to say that we have to be more sustainable in terms of how we excuse me, spend our money and how we operate our company. And so, in order to maintain viability, sustainability, and extend our operations, we as Profillet have been quite successful in attracting non-dilutive funding to our project. So this has come from a number of different agencies within our orbit, including, of course, the X Prize Feed the Next Billion competition, which I mentioned previously, but also Canada's Ocean Supercluster, BioEnterprise, the Canadian Food Innovation Network, Green Spring Bioinnovation Hub, Atlantic Canada Opportunities Agency, Invest Nova Scotia, LearnSphere, Springboard, and Emergence. So it's been with the generous support of all these agencies that we, excuse me, I'm just getting over a cold here a little bit, that we've really been able to extend our runway and preserve sort of our viability and ensure that we sustain our operations. So again, in closing, sustainability today to us means not only ensuring that we create a sustainable, environmentally friendly product, but also operating in a sustainable way in terms of maintaining the viability of our startup.
That's very important point, brings back to the sustainability in operations, in workforce, in many aspects that, traditionally when you look at economical sustainability, perhaps it's not really spelled out. So, but in fact, how you operate, like how much waste in this case would be cost generate, that becomes big thing. So if you can cut on that, that's definitely a mode of operation that potentially we can share with others as a way, as a way forward, as a successful example. That would be great. Yeah.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, no, it's an important it's definitely important for us to consider this this aspect of sustainability as well. So another kind of important foundational topic for us focuses on efficiency and scalability. And one thing that I wanted to point out to you and your viewers is that a major focus for us in the beginning was simplicity. The X Prize competition, it challenged the contestant companies to develop alternative protein manufacturing systems that would be able to feed people in emerging populations in the world. And so a lot of these people are living in countries where there may be sort of less robust infrastructure than you might find in the developed parts of the world. And so we really set out to, create a simple but highly scalable manufacturing approach. And this started in a home kitchen using kind of basic kitchen equipment. And I show some examples of photos from our development process here. So, we use conventional stand mixer for a lot of our work. We were just mixing the ingredients in a bowl with a spatula, and we were creating prototypes, using a knife and assembling rudimentary fillets, as is shown on the right of this slide. And so really, we started with a simple manufacturing process using relatively easily obtainable ingredients because we wanted to ultimately have a manufacturing approach which was scalable and extendable to different parts of the world where they would just have, potentially basic food manufacturing equipment. And so what that meant for us is that, we were able to quickly transition our home kitchen approach to the small commercial scale. And there's some photos here shown from our first commercial scale up run in April of 2024. It actually went pretty successfully. And you can see here that, we were able to take some of those basic home kitchen approaches and transfer them to the commercial scale using pieces of equipment like a bowl chopper, etc. And we got pretty good recapitulation of what we found in the home kitchen at the small commercial scale production event. So for us, sustainability or scalability, I should say, has really focused on creating something that was simple and scalable from the beginning. And so, what does scalability mean to us today? So, it's not only important from the vantage point of looking at, how to what extent we've scaled up the process right now, but we want to consider like how scalable will it be in the future. And part of that process for us has meant taking some of those techno-economic projections that we created during the X Prize competition and projecting how our unit economics will decrease over time. And what you can see here is that based upon our robust techno-economic projections, which come from using actual data from our scale-up process, is that our projections show that our product will become cheaper than the leading plant-based fish alternative in about 16 months. And then within 3.25 years, we should be cheaper than mid-range price whitefish. And so this is an
Amazing.
important consideration because, a major target for alternative proteins is achieving at least price parity with conventional animal protein, but, ambitiously being actually cheaper than it in the future. And for anybody who pays attention to fish prices, you can see that, there's a lot of volatility in fish prices and they generally tend to be going up. So, you
Yes.
know,
I can attest.
Our projections show that we should be able to, be ultimately a cheaper production form than conventional seafood offerings, and that in that way ensure that people get that nutritional benefit of seafood, but really don't have to, spend so much of their money in the process.
True.
And so today, since the X Prize competition has wrapped up, we as Profillet are, operating more like a traditional startup. And so we have framed our existence around sort of more traditional startup metrics and outlooks. And so today, as Profilé, we see that there's a major problem. And that is by 2030, that there is going to be a $400 billion US seafood supply shortfall, and that there are alternative seafood products on the market today that fail to meet customer expectations because they have poor taste, they're too expensive, they're perceived to be too processed, and they don't provide adequate nutrition. And so today, as Profile, we believe that we help to address this gap in the marketplace by having created a product which has authentic taste and texture. It has a scalable manufacturing approach, and it has nutritional parity with actual whitefish. So it addresses many of those consumer pain points for current alternative seafood offerings. Also, our product, from the standpoint of operators who might want to purchase it, it offers very defined benefits in that it's easy to prepare, and generally there's less issues with unreliability compared to conventional fish forms. This means less seasonal variability and less issues with product quality.
Just want to say that we've got the warnings about like 7 minutes left, so I think we'll manage, right?
Oh yes,
Um,
yeah,
yes.
we're coming
If not, we
toward the
can, break and finish in the next video. It's so up to you.
Okay. Yeah, thank you so much. I think we're doing well. And with that, that reframing today as Profile, we're operating as a company, and we have demonstrated novelty, and we've created commercial partnerships, and we've really um, reoriented our existence to be fully focused on commercializing the technology that we've created. So we have some of our key achievements of late are we've submitted a provisional patent application. We have product development agreements with an equipment manufacturer called Rondo and an ingredients company called Ardra. We have manufacturing in the United States and Canada. We've conducted tastings in Halifax and Toronto. We have a long list of customers waiting to receive samples from our next production batch. And importantly, we've onboarded a business development lead in December to really help us to engage with some of the customers we've developed in our pipeline and send some of our products out to get feedback on those from customers via early paid trials. And we also, I should mention, we have a pretty large grant underway that's focused on scaling up our alternative seafood manufacturing process. And so finally, as I wrap up this presentation, just want to talk a little bit about how we intend to commercialize our technology. So we've developed a two-stage go-to-market approach, where in the first stage, we're primarily aligning with small independent restaurants and customers of this type. And in the second stage, as we scale up our operation, we are looking to align with more traditional distributor networks, and in this stage, sell to large restaurant chains, quick service restaurants, as well as universities and health authorities, i.e. institutional customers in the future. What's sort of impressive about the way we've set up this commercialization approach is that in both stage one and stage two, we're able to achieve a healthy margin, which is greater than 35%. And this surrounds the fact that our price point changes over time as we scale up our operation, and our cost of production ultimately goes down. And that brings me to the end of the presentation. I'm very honored to have been here today to discuss with you a little bit about Profillet, our origin story, as part of the X Prize competition, the importance of sustainability to us, and how we've transitioned away from that competition period of our existence to now being focused wholly on trying to commercialize the technology that we've developed. On a personal note, I'm intrigued to see how customers are going to receive our product in the next few months as we send it out into the universe. And it's shows like this that help to get the message out around who and what we are. And very happy to be here today to tell you a little bit about how we embrace sustainability, and it continues to be important to us today and in the future, for sure.
Thank you so much, Greg. This is really, really eye-opening. It's the first time we could see how alternative proteins can actually make a difference. Converting from something not animal origin into what really emulates the fish. And I really wish a lot of success for your enterprise. And in terms of, commenting, I would just say that sustainability, when you mentioned to the markets, access to the markets that may not have sustainable supply chain. What I would also mention is that food security, especially during COVID times and after, as a post-COVID world, becomes very much on government's agenda. Many countries, including here in the United Arab Emirates, food security is something on agenda, high profile. I guess that's why you have Aspire as one of the competition. But bottom line is that this is not just very important. It's aligned with the sustainability governance or postulates or so-called sustainability development pillars. And one of them is no poverty. One of them, no poverty, and another one is equity, access to food, access to good healthcare, well-being. So all of this, which you just mentioned, is directly contributing to those pillars that I think specified by UN. I will have a special presentation on that in 2015. So that's amazing. Thank you so much. I'm just vigilant about time. I wanted to ask more questions, but maybe we can have another presentation, or it would be more like a dialogue when you can go deeper, for example, and your scale up, whatever you can share, of course, and how you manage these two sides, US and Canada production for this. I think that will be also very interesting because it's not, I think here we have principle, we have the concept converting into the product, but also how you're making it. I think that will be also very interesting for viewers. Thank you so much. And I really hope you can join our channel again. And also for the viewers, I think we'll see more on this topic. And I'll just would like to thank Greg for joining us today. Thank you so much. And look forward to more presentations from your company, from you.
Yes, thank you so much, Marina. It's an honor to have been here today, and I look forward to continuing the dialogue in future episodes. So thank you so much.
Thank you.